There's nothing worse than seeing a winnable baseball game get away because of bad defense. And that's exactly what happened to the Marlins on Monday night.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now. The Marlins ended their road trip with a win against Boston, a comeback victory, go back to Lone Depot Park, and promptly drop the first game of the 3-game set against the St. Louis Cardinals because of bad defense. Simple as that. Bad, fundamental baseball, and Clayton McCullough took to the podium, and he described it as, "We deserve to lose. That was ugly." And he's right. Clayton McCullough was absolutely right. This team did deserve to lose. You can't play baseball and ignore the fundamentals. You still have to do the little things, because if you don't, then it's going to come back and hurt you. And that's what we saw. This was a winnable baseball game, and the Marlins opened the door. They left a crack open for the Cardinals to score an extra run here, to get an extra base here, and ultimately they end up losing the game. Eury Perez got the start and was inconsistent to say the least. He was very erratic with his command. 4 1/3, just 2 hits, 3 runs, only 1 was earned. More about that defense in a little bit. But he walked 4, struck out 6. So the command was shaky. He had 4 wild pitches in this one. And that leads to base runners advancing. You have a runner on first and second. You throw a wild pitch. You spike a slider. You spike a curveball in the dirt. It gets away. You're going to have runners advance. Take a free base. It's as good as a steal. That can't happen. The second thing that can't happen, errors. Then the Marlins only had 1 error in this one, but it was a costly one. If we go to the 5th inning, there's 1 out with a runner on first. There's a ground ball to second base, and newly called up Max Acosta fields it, immediately looks to second, but as he's gathering in the baseball, he glances up, takes his eyes off the ball, bobbles it, everybody's safe. You don't turn a double play. You don't even get an out. So it went from a potential double play into a situation in which the very next hitter, or Lars Nootbaar, ripped an RBI single and gave the Cardinals their first run of the game. Then after that, it's another walk. Eury Perez is pulled from the game. McCullough, yanks him for Ronnie Enriquez. And Ronnie gets a ground ball to shortstop, or to Eric Wagaman, rather. Wagaman dove for it, kind of deflected it. Otto Lopez picks it up, but that scored a run. That tied the game. If Wagaman makes that play, it would have been a great play. It was ruled a base hit, but watching the game, it looked like Wagaman could have made the play. That led to another run. And then Contreras with a sac fly gives the Cardinals the lead. But we're not done here. The Marlins come back and tie it. Agustin Ramirez with a 109-mile-per-hour double, and then followed immediately by Jacob Marcy with a hustle double on a little bloop to left field. It's kind of funny. 2 extra base hits could not have been more different from each other, but it still gets the job done. Jacob Marcy with yet another RBI. So the Marlins tie it up. It's 3-3 entering the top of the 7th. And then this is just inexcusable. We have 2 outs. 2 outs, nobody on. Lake Bakker's in the game. It's a fly ball to right field. Dane Myers ranges over, casually reaches up with his glove, and drops the ball. Just flat out drops it. Doesn't corral the baseball, doesn't put it away. Fundamentals. We learn this stuff in Little League. And it leads to a runner going all the way to second base. What happens next? You can probably guess. Alec Burleson rips a base hit to center field. That's the go-ahead run. That was all the Cardinals really needed. They went on to tack 3 more in the 9th, another one in the 8th, and win this game 8-3. But it was bad defense that let the Cardinals back into this game. They don't tie it in that 5th inning. They don't take the lead in the 5th inning without the help of an error, without Max Acosta bobbling that ground ball. They don't take the lead in the 7th inning without Dane Myers dropping an easy fly ball. These aren't hard plays to make. And Clayton's right. When you make these plays, when you have bad fundamentals, you deserve to lose in Major League Baseball. This isn't Little League. This isn't junior varsity. This is the highest league possible in the world. It's Major League Baseball. It wasn't just the defense, too. There was a point in the game in which there's a runner on third, less than 2 outs. Dane Myers is up, hits it the opposite way, smokes a base hit. I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's a run. Oh, wait, what just happened? Jacob Marcy's still at third base. The ball's hit. He takes a couple steps forward, immediately goes back to tag. It's too late. He got caught up in the middle of something. He was in no man's land. He went back to tag. By the time he went back to tag, the right fielder for the Cardinals is throwing the ball in. That shouldn't happen. You have to get a better read on that. If you're Marcy, he's been spectacular since his debut, but that cost the Marlins a run. I can't tell you any other time I've seen a base hit with a runner on third and the runner on third doesn't score. That just doesn't happen in the majors. All in all, you lose the game 8-3. You have to rebound tomorrow. Try to even up this series and avoid yet another series loss, because it's starting to feel like they're piling up one after another. And it's not going to be easy because, unfortunately for the Marlins, they're down a couple of key players. And they're without their best player for a while now. He's going to be sidelined for a few weeks. Kyle Stowers has been placed on the injured list with a left oblique strain. More about that right after this. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. You can take a flyer on the MVP race. For me, I'm going with Joe Burrow. I know I've fluctuated the AFC quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, but I'm going with Joe Shiesty, man. I think this is going to be a big year for him. Now, can the Bengals shore up their defense? That's a topic for another time. This is a baseball podcast, but if you're a baseball fan, you like football as well, you can go visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. I appreciate all the Locked On Marlins listeners who make this part of your daily routine. We've reached 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and it's only upward from here on out. I can't do it without you guys. And just very appreciative of all the kind words, all the everydayers. Let's just keep rolling. Let's keep on rolling with this show and see how far we can take it. What new heights we can take Locked On Marlins. Injury news, though, for the Marlins is not good. Kyle Stowers is on the injured list, and this news came out on Sunday. I didn't get a chance to discuss it with Dylan, who was on yesterday's show, but I have to address it here. It's a big blow for the Marlins. He's their best player, their best offensive piece, an all-star, a legitimate National League MVP candidate who I believe, if he stayed healthy the rest of the season, would finish in the top 10 in MVP votes. Probably would deserve to be in the top 5. You know, it's unfortunate for anybody in the National League who wants an MVP because you got to deal with a guy named Shohei Ohtani over in Chavez Ravine. He's really, really good, in case you didn't know. But Stowers, for right now, there's no clear timetable. We know he's going to be out for a few weeks. Now, the full extent of that timeline, who knows? Is it a situation, a few weeks? Well, that could be 3 or 4. That could be, mid-September is a month from now. That's 4 weeks from now. You have maybe 2-3 weeks left of the season. Do you even bother rushing him back? Does he have to go on a rehab assignment? How does he feel? Is he ready to see Major League pitching again? And that's assuming there's no setbacks with an oblique strain. When it comes to oblique injuries, it feels like I've seen this story time and time again with the Marlins. That the beginning of the season, Jesus Sanchez, oblique strain. Something about that muscle, it's plaguing Marlins players. They're not able to keep it healthy. And it's really disappointing. Stowers was having such a good season, a season in which he came into his own. He became a force to be reckoned with, and it's disappointing that we have to hit pause on it, and we can't see more of Stowers' power. Graham Pauley is another player who is dealing with a right oblique strain, and he's landed on the injured list. That was, again, Max Acosta, who just got called up. That was because of Graham Pauley. So Pauley goes on the IL. Acosta gets brought up from AAA, probably because they just need an infielder. And I've talked about the infield depth for the Marlins. They really don't have a lot. I don't know if Max Acosta is right now, if he's ready for Major League Baseball, but he's thrown in the fire. And what do I always say about opportunities? This is going to be his opportunity for him to make an impact. He impressed in spring training. He was really good there in the Grapefruit League. And now an unexpected call-up has given him an opportunity to showcase his talent at the Major League level. He wasn't having, a really good season in AAA. I expected more of him, but now's his chance. It's a business. Sometimes you're going to get an opportunity that you're not necessarily prepared for. And for Acosta, I don't think he was expecting to get called up at this time in his career. On the season in the minor leagues, he was hitting .232, 12 homers, an OPS of under 700 at .695. So subpar offensive production. He still gets the call up. Now, what can he do with it? I'm disappointed that Graham Pauley is not going to be on this team, or not going to be playing on this team for a while. Again, oblique strains. It's the same type of injury that happened to Kyle Stowers. What's the timetable on Graham Pauley? How quickly can he come back? Because the Marlins are going to be missing his defense at third base. You could put Otto at third, move him off of shortstop, and then put Acosta at short, who should stick there defensively. That's where I would go with it, because Otto's the best fielder out of the bunch. He could have won a Gold Glove last year. At second, I think you leave X at second base. Just keep pencil him there at second, and then you have Javier Sanoja, who can kind of be the jack of all trades around the diamond. He can spell Otto at third. He can play shortstop. You have Max Acosta getting reps at short. Sanoha getting reps at short as well. The one thing, just leave Xavier Edwards at second base. Let him continue to chase this run at the batting title, because there's a real chance that he ends up the National League batting champion, which, by the way, that would fulfill one of my preseason predictions. Currently, he's leading the majors with a 302 average. In second place right now is Freddie Freeman at 301. I think that has to do with Will Smith not being qualified, because the last time I checked this, Will Smith was hitting 312. So maybe he's missing some at bats that lead to, the qualification for the National League batting crown. No, Smith is hitting 302. Xavier Edwards is hitting 302. They're still tied, but I trust X to get it done the rest of the way. And that would be a really cool storyline for the Marlins in a season in which you're seeing a ton of improvement across the board, a lot of development. Guys, Kyle Stowers, although he's injured right now, great season. Agustin Ramirez, great season. And Xavier Edwards is quietly having a really, really good season as well. He was struggling a little bit a few months ago. He himself landed on the IL, but this is who he is. He's a table setter. He's somebody that's just going to go up and rip singles, get on base, steal bases, and score runs. That's what you want from Xavier Edwards, the X-Man. The rest of the way, we're entering the final stretch of Marlins baseball for 2025. It's been a rough last week and a half. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been disappointing. I know heading into this season, we didn't expect the Marlins to be in the same area code of playoff possibilities, but there were right around the trade deadline. They sweep the Yankees right after. They get back to 500, and unfortunately, they haven't been playing good ball, and it's cost them. They're now 7 games under 500 after reaching 500 after the Yankees series, and everybody was on top of the world. I mean, it is what it is. We're Marlins fans. We're used to losing. I don't believe that this organization is going to continue having losing ways in the future. Even if the Marlins don't make the playoffs in 2025, there's so much to be impressed about and to take, positive feedback away from this season. It's been a successful season in terms of players developing, which was what this season was about at the beginning of the year. Wins and losses aside, I'm not going to sit here on the podcast and say I'm okay with losing. And if I'm a player, if I'm a manager, that's the last thing on my mind. But as somebody that talks about the Marlins on the podcast, I need to, just understand where this organization was a year ago and where they're going to be. I'm not okay with the losing streak. I'm not okay with losing the Astros series, the Braves series, the Guardians, the Red Sox, 4 series in a row now. And if they don't win tomorrow, if they don't win on Tuesday, then it's going to be 5 series that they've lost. I'm not okay with that. But I see the direction that this team is heading, and it's a positive one. And all Marlins fans should see that and be excited. The one glaring weakness on this Marlins team, though, that can't be denied is the quality of defense behind home plate. Catching defense, the catching position, since Nick Fortes has been traded, it's been rough. And he's yet to make his major league debut, but I believe that Joe Mack can be the long-term answer for the Marlins at catcher. That's coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the game. PrizePicks is really easy to use, and it's simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. You go in, you make your selections. Who do you think is going to put up this amount of yards or score this amount of touchdowns? And a really cool aspect of PrizePicks, because I've used it before, is that they have something called a flex play. So even if you lose on one of your picks, you can still win money. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4 all the way across the board. There's margin for error. So if you're interested in this, PrizePicks puts their members first. All withdrawals are safe and secure, and you could download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. Locked On Marlins is on the YouTube channel. If you're watching the show, hit that subscribe button. But remember that it's on all the major podcast platforms. You'll never have to miss an episode wherever you are. Joe Mack, I'm anxiously awaiting his major league debut, and he's needed. Okay, the importance of the catcher position. There's so many factors that go into it. And if you watch this team consistently, you're going to notice they don't have a really good defensive catcher. They don't have somebody that is just a wall back there, and you don't have to worry about base runners stealing, guys advancing, passed balls. How do you handle a pitching staff? Right now, it's just Liam Hicks and Agustin Ramirez, 2 rookies. Ramirez, very inexperienced at catcher. Liam Hicks hadn't played above Double-A. The glue that was holding this position together was Nick Fortes. And Fortes got traded just around the trade deadline to the Tampa Bay Rays. So the rest of the way, it was Agustin Ramirez and Liam Hicks. It hasn't been impressive. Agustin Ramirez, his defense is a work in progress, and that's putting it nicely. I'm of the opinion they need to remove him from the catching position totally. Just say, you know what? You're going to DH, and we'll teach you first base, because it's not working there. Liam Hicks, marginally better than Agustin Ramirez. I don't think he's somebody that you can rely on every day to be your catcher, and the defensive metrics kind of back it up. He doesn't catch runners stealing, slow pop time, not a good framer, not a good blocker. There's really nothing there. Joe Mack is the guy that when he makes his debut, he's immediately going to be the best catcher defensively for the Marlins. And his upside with the bat is still really, really high. On the season in AAA, or just in general across AA and AAA, sitting .259 with 13 bombs, 39 RBIs, and OPS of 776. And that's across 90 games, the majority of which has been in AAA. 77 games in AAA. Jacksonville, he got promoted from Pensacola just about the time when the Marlins called up Agustin Ramirez. And he's more than held his own in AAA Jacksonville, including this month. He's had 2 separate 4-for-4 games, and that's carried his average. He's had a slow month of August apart from those 2 games, but I'm not worried with the bat. He has power. He has extra base power. He's somebody that has a high floor for the major leagues because of his defense. He's going to come up. He's going to throw runners out. He's going to be a wall behind the plate. And that's what the Marlins need. Their hope for the catching position in the future for 2026, it has to be Joe Mack. They need him. I don't think you can go into spring training in next season with the idea that Agustin Ramirez and Liam Hicks are going to be your primary starters and you're going to split time between those two. The idea should be Joe Mack's going to start opening day behind the plate. That's how I look at it. Ramirez obviously is still young. There's a hope that he could develop. At least that's what the Marlins believe internally. I don't see it. I think it's prolonging the inevitable when you're going to have to make a switch anyway. And if the value comes from his bat, which it does, he's so bad defensively that brings down his WAR. If you're somebody that looks at the stat of WAR and just says, "Whoa, well, Agustin Ramirez, like, how good is he really?" He's good. He's a great offensive piece, and there's room to improve there. It's the defense that drags everything down. That's why he has a WAR, according to Baseball Reference, of 0. You're going to sit here and tell me that Agustin Ramirez is worth 0 wins above replacement? No. To the Marlins, he's a huge piece. He's a huge factor into their long-term plans. Just not at catcher, and that's okay. Liam Hicks, I did an episode a few days ago about him and Wagaman. Eric Wagaman's been actually really good lately. Hopefully the Linsanity run continues for Mr. Wags. But Liam Hicks, I think his ultimate landing spot is a backup, is a solid backup catcher, who has a good bat-to-ball skills, a good eye at the plate, and could play some first base. But defensively, nothing special. That's why Joe Mack's the key. And I want to see him get called up sooner rather than later. The organization can be stubborn. We know this. They believe in what they're doing, and they have their internal models and analytics that they follow, for better or for worse. I mean, overall, we're seeing Peter Bendix and his impact on this organization improve. I mean, take this organization to bigger and better things. That's the belief. We're seeing results. They're winning a lot more than I expected they would. But for the catcher position specifically, this is one of those things I don't really align myself with. Agustin Ramirez, I get it. You want him to be a catcher. I'd want him to be a catcher too. But you got to realize where you are and what you want out of him as a player. Just end the experiment. It's going to happen eventually. And if it doesn't, then I'll come on the podcast and I'll say, well, you know what? That was a miraculous turnaround by Agustin Ramirez. He proved me wrong. He proved everybody wrong. And he's an average to above average catcher in the MLB. But that's not going to happen. Liam Hicks, he's just there. He's a good story. A Rule 5 draft pick, hadn't played above AA, and that's good. That's great to see. But this is part of the reason why I was against the Marlins trading Nick Fortes at the deadline and wanted to wait until the offseason to part ways with Fortes. Is because now you have 2 rookies, both of whom are not good defensively, with a pitching staff that's inconsistent. Eury, 4 wild pitches. He's young. He's going to have these hiccups. He's as talented as the rest of them. Heck, give me Eury over Jacob Mizorowski. I know there's this Jacob Mizorowski hype, but give me Eury Perez. But you need that catcher that's going to be that wall that sees the game, that understands their pitching staff, a veteran presence. And that's what Fortes brought day in and day out. And now he's gone. So for the rest of the way, it's going to be Agustin. It's going to be Liam Hicks. Hopefully, in September, we get a Joe Mack call-up, and he comes into the equation, and you see right off the bat the intangibles, the rocket of an arm, the ability to lead a pitching staff with confidence, and then that bat translates from the minors to the majors, and you see the pop. You see that power play into games, because if it does, and it all comes together, then you've got a potential all-star at catcher. Catcher is a position that doesn't have a lot of standouts. You have Cal Raleigh, who's an absolute freak of nature. He's about to tie the single season catcher home run record up in Seattle. And Seattle's a pitcher's ballpark of all the ballparks you don't want to hit in Seattle. Cal Raleigh doesn't care. You have guys like Patrick Bailey. Bailey's a terrible hitter in San Francisco, but he plays every day. He gets the majority of reps because of his ability to frame, his elite defensive presence. That's why Fortes has a job. That's why the Tampa Bay Rays traded for Nick Fortes. It wasn't because of his bat. It was because of his glove. So if you have a player like Joe Mack that has above average defense to pair with above average offense that can come in to the majors and give you a 700, 750 OPS with 20, 25 home run power, you're going to take that. And everybody should be excited and awaiting his call-up. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.